Thank you so much, PAG Seymour. Past President Angela, I will call on you to lead us in the four-way test this evening.
Thank you, AG Alicia. Good evening, everyone. I am happy to see all the nice faces here. And as we go along in our training, we would always want to remember the four-way test. And we may start now. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it the truth? Is it fair to
Is
all?
it fair to all concerned?
Is
it fair to all concerned?
Will it bring goodwill and better friendships?
Would it
Build
bring
goodwill
and better
and
friendship?
fresh.
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be
Will it be beneficial to all
concerned?
concerned?
And will it be fun?
Will it be
Yes.
fun?
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Past President Angela. And once again, welcome to each and every one of you this evening. I trust that you are ready to open your heart and your mind and listen to all of the knowledge that will be shared with you. Once again, good evening to PDG David, and I see that PDG Andre is on with us. Past assistant governors that are on, president-elects, secretary-elects, incoming board members, all welcome to this learning series, part 2. And we have 2 more to go. Without further ado, I would like to call on past President Carolyn, who is going to officially introduce our first speaker this evening. Past President Carolyn, the floor is all yours.
Good evening, everyone, fellow Rotarians. I am Carolyn Richardson Hodge, Secretary-elect for the Rotary Club of Anguilla. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our first presenter this evening, past District Governor David Kirkcaldy, who will be sharing with us the role and responsibilities of the club's fundraising chair. Past District Governor David Kirkcaldy, born in Jamaica and raised in the Cayman Islands, is the founder of Massive Equipment Rentals and Sales Limited and Massive Media Limited. He has served as president of the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce and was the first president of the Special Economic Zone Authority. A Rotarian since 1995, David was district governor for 7-20 in 2023 and 2024, and currently serves as an assistant regional foundation coordinator for Zone 34. He and his wife, Christina, has 2 adult children. David is a major donor to the Rotary Foundation and is deeply passionate about Rotary's mission. Fellow Rotarians, help me welcome PDG David Kirkcaldy to the virtual lectern.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see so many familiar faces. My PDG captain, Andrea, it's great to see you as always. And I certainly know that everybody on the call that had to endure one of my talks at your clubs when I was traveling through our region last year wished that the introduction had been as short as that because everybody seemed to use the long one. Thank you so much for inviting me to participate in this, Alicia. When I next see you, I will give you a piece of my mind for selecting me to talk on a topic that I have never been the chairperson for in my club. And indeed, I don't think I've ever actually served on the fundraising committee. But there you go. That's what Rotary does. Rotary puts opportunities in front of you to formulate your thoughts and to pass on knowledge that you've picked up, even if not directly related to it. So I hope you enjoy the presentation today. You all know me, I try to make it a bit lighthearted and practical. That's the main thing. So I'm going to try to share the screen here. Yep, that's the one I want to share. So share PowerPoint. Share. Is it, are you guys seeing the PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah,
Oh,
yes.
fantastic.
Yes, it's clear.
Excellent. Love it when a plan comes together. So today I'm talking about Rotary fundraising, building a better tomorrow, which is really what we're trying to do within every one of our Rotary clubs. We do that through so many things. First and foremost, I always say is fellowship. But to get some things done in our communities, we need money, we need funds, we need funding. And that's where fundraising comes in. So here we go with this. What is Rotary's core mission or core purpose? We say it all the time. We are about service above self, and we are about creating lasting change in communities and around the world. Indeed, that comes from our vision statement, which goes on to say, and in ourselves. A huge part of that comes from the work that we do in our communities, and the work that we do is funded through fundraising. Fundraising supports our club's planned activities, its international initiatives, potential disaster relief, and I dare say funding also has a significant impact on what we do in the foundation through our clubs every year. Fundraising at its core turns the ideas that we have when we sit around in our clubs and we either have things that we've done in the past or we have ideas for things we'd like to do in the future. And funding turns those ideas into action and those visions of what we could be doing into the results. I love this saying by Winston Churchill. I really think that holds true in the area of fundraising for our Rotary clubs. Let's take it back to the core purpose of this session, which is your fundraising committee. So typically, or at least in the standard Rotary guidelines, that falls under the service committee of a club. Often in clubs, it's not designated like that. It's quite often just stands on its own. But there should be a fundraising chair, and that chair should have several dedicated committee members that work with that fundraising chair. Alternatively, I've seen it where instead of a committee member grouping that works on all projects or aspects of every project, I've seen it in other instances where a committee is broken down into the leads that are more dedicated to specific projects, kind of spreads the workload around. Somebody may be passionate about one particular project, and so they may take the lead on that and maybe do less in some of the other projects unless called for. However you do it, there really ought to be that fundraising chair. I don't know how you can actually run a club without a fundraising chair. And that fundraising committee should not be a committee of one, which many Rotary clubs are famous for. It should be a true committee with dedicated folks that are running it up. The members need to be committed to making a difference through fundraising. Fundraising, I've always thought, is far easier when you have a clear history of what your club has done in the past. I would commend you to compile highlights lists. Go through some of your old Facebook, Instagram posts, go back through old clippings of newspaper reports that if you may have them in your club, scroll back through your club runner newsletters, take a look at the fundraising events you've had in the past and start jotting those down. Compile a list, put them into an Excel sheet or some way of formatting where you see the names, the typical dates, and the amount that was raised in those events. Think about success stories and a participation where members enthused to come and participate in an activity, and maybe you didn't get the turnout you hoped for others. What worked, and equally important, what did not work? This one I thought was a good quote to raise here. Fundraising is not about money, it's about relationships. Good salespeople rarely even turn to the topic of the item they're selling. They're talking about relationships and building a relationship. The best car salesman, the best real estate agent, they are there to do ultimately a job. But really, what they're doing, if you think about people in your life that you've dealt with that are great salespeople, they're not pushing that sale. It's a process of building a relationship, building trust, and then you can start to have those conversations. One thing you'll want to do is to understand what it is that you've done in the past. What have you achieved? Because your target audience, and those are going to be club members, because all clubs raise funds from within its own membership. It's going to be your local community, the folks that you go out to support you. And it's going to be businesses in the area that you operate. They are more motivated to give when you can show specific examples of what projects have funded in their communities. So again, I'd encourage you to create a series of local impact stories. Go back into that list of projects that you've done in the past, fundraising activities that you've done, and write short stories. These don't have to be long. These can just be some bullet points. You can feed a news story that may have been much longer into AI tools that we have now, ChatGPT, and say you want a 5-sentence short story on this project, and it'll spit it out for you. But you want to highlight the work that your club has done. You also want to highlight the work that you've done within your club that has helped with global initiatives, things that have supported perhaps earthquake relief in Haiti and things like that that may appeal to other demographics within your community. But stories drive people. Stories convince people to do actions. And I encourage you to go back and think about creating short little impact stories of what fundraising has done in the past. I would also encourage you when you're doing things like this, looking at your past calendars, thinking about what's coming up, to critically review events that are always on the roster. In my club, we're a 60-odd-year-old club. There are some things that nobody even knows where they started, but they just keep going on. Sometimes they're not the best project for us to be spending our human capital and our time and efforts on for the return. It may be that they're more of a community service project now than a fundraising project. What you need to be looking at, though, is it still relevant to the community? Have demographic changes? Has the interest of the local community changed as people have gotten into different things? And really look critically at every project that you do. Look critically at every fundraising activity you do. And it is okay to let go of some of these past projects if it's no longer relevant or it's no longer producing the results that are required of them. Sacred cows are things that are enshrined within our Rotary clubs. We can't stop that because past president XYZ started it and it's kind of his legacy or her legacy. Listen, if it made $500, so I'd encourage you to look critically at your projects. When you've done your project, this is again, if we go back to creating and maintaining relationships, never stop thanking your donors, no matter how much they give. Celebrate your members, cheer them on, your community, the event volunteers, both from within and outside of your club, partners of Rotarians that come out to support an event, supporting businesses. That thank you will make your next ask of them so much easier. Always, always, always finish an event with a final item on your checklist, which is an acknowledgement. Through this presentation, I'll give some examples, but you always have to localize it. So maybe a newspaper ad is still relevant in your community and people see that, or maybe there's a community newspaper, a free paper that's available. Make sure you put something in there. Facebook or Instagram is free to do. Put a post on there and make sure you tag and big up your supporters, your sponsors, people that donated, people that volunteered their time. You know the feeling when you receive a written thank you. It hardly happens nowadays. It's an old-fashioned habit, but it is so wonderful when you receive a written thank you letter. In this day and age, also a personalized email, not a mass email. Takes 1 second to figure out how to merge a mail list and send out personalized emails. I'd encourage you to do that. And make sure when you do a post, include testimonials or quotes from those who are impacted by the service that is going to come as a result. If you haven't done that project yet, go back to last year's event and talk to them, or talk about who will be impacted in those sharings of thank yous for the event. The best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of others. Mahatma Gandhi gave his entire life to service. And I encourage you to do what you can to think, what more can I do today than I did yesterday? You will get so much more from it than you're giving to it. I love the thought that if you don't know where you're going, I can pretty much guarantee that you are going to get there. So many Rotary clubs, so many things that we do in our private life, so many things that we do in other associations that we're members of get where they're going because they haven't a clue where it was they were intending to go in the first place. Your fundraising goals each year, they're driven by the service projects and foundation giving plans that the incoming administration will hopefully be laying out. You're going to have talks, either has already happened or as this series continues, about club administration, about year planning for the incoming president. This is critical. A fundraising chairperson really doesn't know where to go, short of just a general, we need to fundraise. They really need to know what they're fundraising for. What is your club's fundraising target? It has to be noted, it has to be backed up by what are the projects that you're raising those funds for? What is the budget for that project? So you understand what is needed to fundraise as a result of that. This is critical, and it does not, it seems just plainly obvious, but it does not happen so often, and it leads to less chance of success or less maximizing of the potential for success of a project. How do we fund our projects in Rotary? Well, you make sure you plan. You plan events that help you raise money for those projects. And in doing so, as an aside that's very helpful, is you're raising general awareness of Rotary and the Rotary Foundation. We know Rotarians, some of them are on the call, who are very, very open and ask whoever they talk to about what do they know about Rotary. Until you get to know me, which usually takes about 2 minutes, I'm generally not going to be that person. But I've traveled with other Rotarians who, as you go into, I don't know, a restaurant in Miami Airport on your way to a conference, they are asking everyone around the bar area, do you know about Rotary? Can I talk to you about Rotary? It's almost an evangelical experience. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily need to go that far, but isn't it awesome when people do say that they know what Rotary does, they know the impact that it's had in their community, or they know something about what we do with polio? But I'll tell you what, that is less likelihood than having a blank stare saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I've driven in your countries as I've traveled the Caribbean this last year, and I do ask someone when I'm being checked into the hotel or a taxi driver somewhere, do you know about the Rotary Club? More times than not, in your own home countries, I get a blank stare and I don't really know. I think they have a bus shelter somewhere. It's amazing to me, but it does happen. Our fundraisers are a great opportunity to spread an awareness of Rotary, the Rotary Foundation, and your club in particular. Think about other fundraising events, charity dinners, skip a meal. Alicia, if you know her even for 2 minutes, is bossy in the very best way. She asked me when she saw my presentation, David, you got to give them ideas for what those events should be. I have learned after a couple of years to start to push back on Elisa. And I said, I feel that giving you a list of things almost boxes you into those ideas. Because what works for my club, the Rotary Club of Grand Cayman, will, I guarantee you, be very different than what happens and what works for the Rotary Central, the club I spoke at last night here in Grand Cayman. And it will be very different from what is relevant and useful for a club in St. Martin Nord versus St. Martin Mid Isle. Every club has its own culture. Every audience that you're playing to has its own likes and things that work. So I'm trying not to box you into ideas, but I would encourage you to use this amazing thing called the internet that we're using today to just open this incredible website that I just discovered called Google and just type in, give me 10 fundraising ideas for a small Rotary club or for a charitable organization, and it will spit out a bunch of ideas. ChatGPT will give you an even more extensive list. These are free tools that you can then start to see what works for us and very critically look at the things that are already on your calendar and see if they still make sense and where can you maybe pull something new that you're seeing somewhere else that's working and replace it with, move off something that's maybe had its time. And it's hard to do that sometimes, but it's necessary to keep things fresh. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. Dalai Lama is a wise man. That is not a good idea, not even to start with. Everybody can make a difference. Every little bit counts. What are some other ways to fund your projects? Well, you may need to turn to outside sources to fund your projects, such as individual donors. You've got businesses out there who have an affinity towards Rotary or some of the projects that we're doing. Some local governments have funds within their community development programs to assist with certain areas, be they literacy or water fountains or things like this. Nonprofit NGOs can often be turned to. If you're in one of our American territories, you've got a great advantage where you can have 501(c) type organizations that can direct funds to you and get a tax benefit for that. So there's many other ways that you can work with receiving funds to bolster your community projects and also your foundation giving. I know that's not the focus of the evening, but it all in some ways goes hands in hand. Other Rotary clubs are also a great source. Banding together, we are not in competition with each other, but banding together to do something really spectacular that one club alone couldn't pull off is a really great way to fundraise. And mark your calendars. I can't tell you how often I get an invite to something. I was like, when did this come up? Well, it was never published anywhere. Your club members in the local community can't make plans to support you if they don't know what your activities are going to be and when they're going to be. Keep an updated monthly or quarterly calendar of fundraising events listing key functions that you need good participation for. Dinners, quiz nights, auctions, walks or runs. Make sure that your members know well in advance of the important dates. Make sure they're reiterated constantly at your meetings. You should have some form of a newsletter, be it on Club Runner or good old-fashioned just printing out a few copies and circulating it. But find a way to make sure that your club members know what's coming down the pipeline and make plans for them so that they can make plans to be there and participate with you. Fundraising I'm doing today. I'm giving you a gentle soft sell. We've got to innovate. Everybody around us is innovating. So many of our clubs are stuck in a way that they did things back in the good old days. Times are changing. Your audience is changing. Everything is changing in the communities around us. We cannot, therefore, remain the same. Find new fundraising ideas. Google these things. Find out, like, how can we do matching donations? Is there I don't know, like a cinder block plant that makes those little bricks that we can partner with to sell names on a brick so that when we're opening a new library at a school or putting in some new water fountain, we can not only put in the water fountain, we can maybe decorate around it with bricks that have people's name on it, and they of course pay for the privilege of that. Find different ways of raising the funds that are in your communities. Corporate sponsorship. Many businesses have corporate giving that they need to do. They also have the opportunity to supply staff. Certainly in Cayman, most of the law firms and banks and accounting firms have service days, or they allow their staff a certain number of hours for service time. So find out which companies do that, contact your local HR association and see if they have any statistics or information on that. And of course, partnerships. For our club, we did a project with putting in water fountains around the island. We partnered with one of the local water companies to do that. So they're supplying the water. Of course, they get some branding on it, and we get the ability to sell ads on there. That's an evergreen sponsorship. Certainly the one that is incredible fundraising is Rotary Central here in the Cayman Islands. They have a whole series of They raise incredible sums of money from that bus shelter program. Things like that are really the holy grail that clubs look for. Something that is evergreen, that a bill goes out every month, every quarter, or every year, and it just produces funding every year for major service projects in your community. Join the movement. You cannot be the fundraising chairperson and be Debbie Downer. You have to come with the vibes, right, Alicia? Yeah. You got to come with the vibes. You got to be a cheerleader. You have to encourage everybody. You have to encourage participation. Can't take no for an answer. Everybody has to have a job in your upcoming event. If your club is a ticket selling or raffle type of club, and praise be, my club is not, then shout that from the mountains. If you're an active type of club and they are frequently doing events, musical events perhaps, or physical activities, run. You'll have to pardon my pun on that one. Run with that concept and make sure that the people that like that kind of thing are the members that you're trying to attract, because they will be good at that type of fundraising. Every member should have a role and every member should be volunteering their time. Perhaps not for everything, nobody can do that, but make sure that they have a role somewhere during the course of your annual calendar. Make sure you share that Rotary mission with the community. Make a personal contribution. You cannot be the fundraising chair on the committee and just not participate in some small way, even financially. In the same way that I don't know how you can be a foundation chair and not be an every Rotarian every year, or at least have a Paul Harris Fellow behind your name. This is my favorite saying of all time. It's from PDG Bobby Bodden. You got to do your giving while you're living so that you're knowing where it's going. We be asking members, talking about knowing where it's going, we should be asking members during doing surveys or online during our meetings what they want to do for fundraising. We will get more support as a club. You will get more support in your role if your members enjoy the activities that you've got planned. You will also discover the things that maybe they would prefer to be doing. So make sure you push your admin folks to schedule club forums. Make sure that those are held and that there's time dedicated within them, or you have a separate one on that topic. Find out what members like, what they dislike, what they want more of. Questions, feedback, and ideas should never be pushed away from members. All feedback is good feedback, even if you do not like the way it sounds when it first comes to you. There is a truth in there somewhere. This presentation will be shared, I'm quite sure, by the organizers, but I've thrown in some links just so you can look around. There's, of course, the Rotary one, but there's some other fundraising links. You might be able to find some interesting ideas there. And of course, the Learning Center. There's some really good material in our Learning Center on this topic. Thank you. My thing to you is to always keep Rotary's mission, broadly speaking, do good in the world. Keep that at the forefront of your efforts. When people know the why behind why you are asking them to volunteer, to staff an event, maybe to volunteer to stand outside of a store and sell tickets to an upcoming car raffle or something like this, asking them to please attend a dinner, donate funds directly, they will do it. They will do it willingly if they know the why behind it. That's why those stories are so important. Fundraising then is how we execute the why. We can't do it without fundraising. We can't get to the why without the funding for it. And I can't wait energetic committee chairs and members who are just knocking it out of the ballpark and allowing your incoming club administration to achieve the goals that it's planning to achieve, because fundraising is the integral oil that keeps that machine running. And I thank you so much for your time and open up the floor for any questions if we have time. Otherwise, I thank you again.
Thank you, PDG David, for that excellent presentation. I will now call on fellow Rotarians to ask any questions that you may have, clarifications or comments. Please feel free to unmute your mic and ask those questions.
we can't accept this. We have to have at least
Okay,
one.
I have a comment.
There we go.
I have a comment. You mentioned, and I totally agree with you, that in the case of the fundraising chair, it should not be that one person, being the chair alone, and then we have to have a committee. I totally agree with you. But sometimes some clubs are so small that you find it so difficult to get other persons rather to work along with the fundraising chair. But I think a solution to that, because I'm talking in case of my club, a solution for that is to have everybody, all the members of the club, join in helping out the fundraising chair in planning for a fundraising event, because it's sometimes so difficult because of the size of the club. What
I
do you think?
completely agree with you. The challenge many of our clubs have is that they've scaled back their membership for a whole variety of reasons. But I would jump forward to a month from now when I'm the new club development chair for our district to tell you that in large part that is because the clubs have not changed with the times and they've not recognized what's happening around them. We as a district and Rotary as a whole is having its most success with driving membership gains by being bold and starting new types of clubs. So for instance, a small club that is, maybe it used to be you had to be chartered with, I want to say 20, maybe 25 members. The recent council legislation has changed that to 15. But I know exactly what you say. It becomes a rotating door of, who's on president this year kind of thing. And so, but maybe that club now needs to look at itself in the mirror and say, we can't be a club of 10 or 12 people and be a all things to all people club. Maybe it's time for us to look at changing our membership, our club type to an impact club, because we all agree we love doing this type of service. And why try to do all these other things when we could be a club that's focused on this area? So we'll be talking a lot more about that in the coming year, because I think that's a huge opportunity for us. Satellite clubs, impact clubs. But beyond that, you're right. In a small club, sub 15 members, which a great many people on this call are members of clubs in that range, you need to be basically the committee or all the committees is everybody in some sense of the fashion. Because if you're not on it, you were on it last year and you're probably going to be on it next year. So, you have that knowledge base that's there and you can't sort of say like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Everybody needs to get along, but you may want to consider some other creative ways. I know we have limited time because Carell is dying to
I just wanted to make a comment and share some things that we found in my club, Rotary Club of Montego Bay. We do a foundation fundraiser every year, and it's usually a dinner. Last year, it had a fashion show as well. I wasn't there. I was traveling, but it was very successful. So, it was sort of tweaked. It wasn't just a dinner or a banquet. There was something added. So a little novelty there. But we've been very fortunate in having clubs around the world sponsoring and partnering with us on some of our projects, especially with our water and sanitation project, which some of you already know about. And what we find motivates and keeps people engaged with these projects, and they give more sometimes, is we make sure that when we put signage on the projects, like on a tank, on a wall, or whatever, depending on what kind of project it is, and we put our name and the name of the partner club or organization. Sometimes it's not a Rotary club, it's another kind of organization. We always make sure that not only do we take photographs throughout as the project is being done, we share the pictures with whoever it is, and we make sure that their name is on the sign as well as ours, which serves two purposes. It's thank you to the people who helped us. It motivates them to stay engaged with us, and it's also creating awareness in the community of what Rotary is doing, which PDG did allude to a little while ago, people not knowing. So
All great ideas, and thank you for
Yeah.
sharing with the group on those.
thank you.
Do you have time for Bobby's Alicia? Okay. Go ahead, Bobby. Hello, Bobby. Maybe he was just waving to say hi. Looks like we might have missed him, but you all know my email address, and encourage you to reach out if you have any questions on anything at all. And in the coming year, if you want me to speak at any of your clubs.
Sorry
Zoom.
about that, PDG, Mike. How are you doing? This is Bobby. I'm from St. Andrew, North Jamaica.
Hello.
Yesterday, we raised bunches of money for projects. What we did, and I'm recommending that to the present interested parties on this platform. Back in 94, 95, I was president then. What we did, and what we did after that as well, we engaged the project committee to join with the fundraising committee in raising the funds, because when that occurs, there's more interest by the projects committee because they set the projects, what they want to do, and they expect the fundraising chair to go out and get the summer funds all for them. That should not be the case. We join both committees together in raising the funds because it is going to satisfy the projects that the project committee is going to advance. And I tell you, yesterday we raised millions of dollars. I can remember one particular event, we had $1.5 million net. Today, we are fighting to raise funds. Why? Because we leave it to the fundraising chair, which is usually, I believe, the vice president is in charge, or he chairs that fundraising committee in most clubs. Certainly now as now. And they're struggling to raise funds. So I think I have recommended, I am recommending again to my club to go back to that, although we talk about, we must get away from the old ideas, but sometimes the old ideas are brand new again to new Rotarians who might not know or have the experience that the club has had in the past. Thank you very much, PDG. David.
Thank you. And for Andre Mariah's benefit, 1.5 million is Jamaican dollars. It's
yes, but I'm talking about Jamaican terms.
But it's still a significant sum.
Of course, in any language, 1.5 in any funding of any currency is a lot of money. In US, it's a lot of money. In Jamaica, it's plenty.
I would say to your point, Past President Bobby, that the thing I'm hearing underneath that is when people know why they should participate from the club side of it, they feel more energized about doing that. And then the folks that you're appealing to for the funds to be raised from, businesses, the community, other aspects, if they understand where those funds are going to, and very importantly, that your treasurer at the end of every year, or whatever your local laws may require, publishes some audited accounts of the income and the expenses and where the money went. This helps to raise trust in a time when there are no end of official and spurious NGOs out there that we're competing with, that we are a trusted organization and that we can be relied upon to take monies that are given to us in trust and use them well.
Would imagine. Thank you very much, PDG, David.
You're very welcome. Thank you very much for your time, AG Alicia.
Past President Carolyn,
Yes.
please lead the vote of thanks. Thanks.
PDG David Cocaldi. This certificate of appreciation is presented to you for being an exceptional presenter at the 2025-2026 Club Officers Virtual Learning Series, dated this day, June 4th, 2025, and it's signed by Alicia Lake, our Assistant Governor, 2023-2026, Rotary District 7020. Thank you once again, PDG David Kakaldi.
Thank you very much. I just took a selfie with that, and I appreciate it very much. You know me and my selfies.
Yes. All right. So I now, at this point, I'll hand over the floor to Rotarian Crystal, who will introduce our next presenter. Rotarian Crystal.
Thank you. I am Crystal Davis, membership chair-elect for the Rotary Club of St.Martin Sunset. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our second presenter this evening, past President Carol has been a member of the Rotary Club of Cayman Sunrise for the past 9 years. She has held various positions on the board, such as Co-Community Service Director, Membership Director, Secretary, Vice President, and President, and is the current incoming Club Challenge Vice Chair for Rotary District 7020. Past President Carroll has always had a passion for helping others and giving back from a young age, which led her to becoming a social worker. And since finding Rotary, has continued to give back. When not involved with Rotary activities, she enjoys spending time relaxing at the beach, reading, watching movies, and trying new restaurants. Fellow Rotarians, please help me welcome past President Carol to the virtual lecture.
Hello, and thank you. I'm hoping, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes, great. All right. I haven't done this in a minute, so we're going to try and share my screen here so that you can all see. I hope you can see that. All right. So, not sure how I am supposed to top following our great PDG David, but I'm gonna try things and see how we get through here. All right. So as was said earlier, I'm gonna do a little bit of talking about being club administration chair. What are some of the roles and responsibilities that comes along with that? And if you give me a minute, I'm trying to get you guys in my view. Somebody could tell me quickly how to do that. All right.
Sure if you're able to, but you just have to speak and pretend you're seeing us.
Yeah. All right. So what are we going to go through today? So we're just going to say, what is club admin really? And what comes along with being a chair for club administration? Who's responsible for doing what, and what are our reporting requirements? That's the general gist of what I'm going to give you tonight. Keep it short, sweet, and spicy. And of course, if there are any questions, we will get to that. So one of the things, the club, we want to ensure it's a smooth sail, right? We want to know that when we're getting to our meetings, that everything is in place, that it's just going to be as smooth as possible for us to accomplish what we need to accomplish during our meeting times, whether it's guest speakers, whether it's a fellowship meeting, whether it is a more serious business meeting, whatever it is. It's just, we want to make sure that things are put in place from before so that we can have as smooth a ride as possible. For any sailors out there, you'll get that. All right, so what is club administration? Basically, it's a smooth operation of the club. It's the background work. It's doing what it takes to ensure that everybody has what they need to make sure that these meetings go as good as possible. So we usually work closely with the secretary, the treasurer, and the sergeant, right? And ideally for a club administration committee, it would be good to have those persons on that committee with you. So at least you have an idea and they are also aware of what's going on in the background, because they work very closely together, putting agendas together, you know, secretary and president usually, but club admin chair, they do usually carry some weight around that, helping out as needed. So make sure you try and tap those people, see if they will sit on that committee for you. Keep a finger on the pulse of the club. So what is it that needs to happen? You need to know. You need to be that person who is going to be around, who knows, okay, this isn't going right now. How can we get this done? What do we need? Let me go run and get this for you. So it's a lot of that background work. So live feedback from members in the club as to what's going on and how can you help to improve anything if necessary. What is involved, right? So if we look at it from a weekly perspective, we're looking at identifying and inviting interesting speakers, those that align with Rotary's monthly themes, or sometimes it may just be what's relevant in your community at the time, what's going on in your country, in your island, that, you know, maybe your members want to know some more in-depth information about. Reach out to those persons, and I am sure that a lot of times they are willing to come and talk with a club to give their feedback, give their insight, give you information that, you know, others may not even know as yet. I remember a few years ago, there is a bypass going through the Cayman Islands it's a big buzz and it's a huge thing, and so many people were against or for. We got the people in charge to come and talk to our club, and it was one of the more engaging conversations and things happening in the club because that's what they wanted to know about, right? So I know there are some clubs, they may have a vocational chair, and a lot of times that vocational chair may also be the persons that are responsible for speakers. So depending on what your club is, what your club does, it could be both, or it could be your club admin chair who's responsible for guest speakers. So just to keep that in mind, depending on where you are. Putting together a weekly duty roster for different positions, for different roles. So there is the greeter at your meetings, or the person who's going to do the 4-way test, or the person who is going to do the grace. Some clubs, the president may just choose to call in whoever is there that particular morning to have them do it. Or it may be a more structured event where a roster is put forward. I know in our club, that's what we do. And every 3 months, we send this roster out so that you know ahead of time, you know, I'm the person responsible for A, B, or C. I'm responsible for bringing the raffle prize this week. And you send them that gentle reminder, you know, a couple days before, just in case. You never know. They may end up having to travel, can't do their duties, so you need to find somebody else, or they may have already found somebody else on their own. But that is one of the parts, ensuring that smooth sailing. Room setup. So depending on where your club is, your meetings are being held, right? I know there's some clubs that they're in restaurants, so there's nothing except showing up with your additional paraphernalia. There's no tables or chairs to set up or whatever. My club, we meet in a hall. Yes, it's at a restaurant, but it's above a restaurant, but it's a hall. So we have room setups that we need to do on a weekly basis. So it's being prepared. The committee is in charge of those things. Physical setup, the restaurant is nice and they have taken care of that for us. But if you want to switch it up, if you want to do something different, there are times we've had what we call network speed dating. We set up in a different manner so that we can have that accomplished. So just the general setup of the room, ensuring that the gavel and the bell is out, the banners, having all those things in place for your meeting beforehand. Planning or helping to plan other events. So you may not be responsible for actually putting on an event, but you may need to work with other directors to put on certain events or to be there in the background, ensure that what they need is there for their various events. Or you may be in charge of planning the club forums, the club assemblies, those events that your committee and you will be required to put together, whether it's on a an annual basis. Some clubs may do it twice a year, whatever it is. Events like Charter Night, Changeover, any other additional special event that your club may have, your committee may be the one responsible for either directly putting this on or working with another director or another group of persons involved in having that event. So it's ensuring that, again, it goes back to having your finger on the pulse of the club, knowing what's going on and being there in the background. So anybody in your club who loves organization, who loves event planning, this is probably the committee that you're going to want to have those people on. Maintaining club assets. How many things does your club own that you don't know where they are? You may have some feather banners that kept at Rotarian Johnny's house. You may have the bucket of garden tools for your park cleanups at Rotarian Mary's house. Like, things are just all over the place. Do you really know where all the things that your club owns, where they're located and stored? Yes, it would be good to have it in one place. And if you have that, great. But keeping a record and passing that on from year to year as you change club administration chairs, having that so that you're not losing these things, you know where these things are. I can tell you, in the past, we have had our things stored at, I think, about 4 different places. It's only in the last few years that we now are like, okay, so it's all in one spot, great. And we have that list and everybody knows what we have. So you're not ordering more things that you may already have sitting somewhere else, right? So do, a little before the new Rotary year starts, go and do that huge general check, have that list, put that list together so that everybody knows. If your community service director comes to you and says, hey, we need the banners to put up for our events, I can say to them, okay, this is where it is. You're taking it, cool. Soon as your event is done, make sure you get it back to me by the following day. Have that in place so we're not losing things all over the place. Pins, we know how the pins go. You lose them in the wash, they disappear into thin air, you can't find them in the car, who knows? Having an extra stock of those kind of things for your club members. Now, whether you choose to charge them for it or not, that's up to you. But having an extra stock of those things available. If you have club shirts, special club t-shirts that you all use, having those available also, for the members to be able to come to you. So all of that, just the general running, you're in charge of that. As I said before, just ensuring for different events, having the banners there, your cash pad, your card machines, whatever event is being held, those things are readily available. If you as the chair isn't available to go and you are not going to be able to be everywhere all the time, having someone on your committee or whichever director is in charge of that event, ensuring that they know that they are responsible for these things because it does need to be returned. There are times you may need to help the treasurer collect dues at a meeting or collecting fines at the end of each meeting. I know, like in our club, we just drop that on the table. Here's a fine, here's the fine, here's the $10 fine, $5 fine, whatever it is. And it's just left on these tables. Having that collection at the end of the meeting, so money ain't going missing. Those are different responsibilities. And of course, it's delegating to different people on your committee. you as a chair are not the sole person responsible for all of this, but delegating those things to different persons on your committee. Make sure it's people that love to be up early if it's a morning meeting. Yeah, because you want to make sure that somebody's going to be there. Have a team where you're rotating the roles, as I just said, and so that not one person has to be at every single meeting if they're not able to feel like, oh my God, I have to be there because I'm on this committee. You can have a roster, make it easier for you, but just ensure that there's someone there to help ensure that things are going okay. Working with your public image director, getting the message out there, whether it's to the community, to the club, different events that are happening, as PDG David just said, ensuring that people know what's going on so that they can be able to be there to help, donate, do what they need to do. So working closely with all our other directors. Reporting. It's just really reporting back to your monthly board meetings, just saying, here's what's going on, here's what's not working, this is what we may need. Any issue that arises that the board may need to be aware of. I have found that this is one of those committees that don't necessarily need to meet every single month, like other committees may need to, but you're still keeping in touch with each other. You may not have a meeting every single month, every 2 or 3 months, I would say. But there's always that constant communication and then reporting back to the board at those monthly board meetings as to what's going on. Reporting to the general club membership as needed also, right? A lot of our committees, those directors are responsible for reporting on the various events coming up, on what is going on. But in terms of club administration, it may just be the more boring things that you may need to report on, but that the members have a right to know and need to know and advise them. So for club admin, by building relationships with other club leaders, fostering collaboration and communicating effectively, you'll be able to manage your club more efficiently. Working together. That's a huge thing. We know that in Rotary, that is one of our main things. It's just working together to do good, as PDG David also just said. These are a couple links from my Rotary, from our Learning Center. These are 2 good ones, which focus a lot more on the club admin side of things. They are here. AG Alicia, I'm assuming you may want to share all of this at some point. You can. Okay, great. So you'll have that. They don't take very long, but they are really informative going through these learning resources on my Rotary. Any questions, comments?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
What is the difference, or are there any similarities between the club secretary and the club administration secretary? Is there overlaps?
So a lot of times it also depends on your club. So some of the things can overlap, very few, but some of the things can overlap, depending a lot, I find, on the size of the club, probably. The club secretary works a lot closer with the president and deals with agenda issues, deals with the maintaining of club records, deals with the board issues, deals with questions or issues that may arise from the members themselves, and they direct them to the secretary. So it's a lot more of those things that the club secretary tends to deal with. Club administration is the organizing of a meeting, ensuring that things are there for other events. Whereas a club secretary doesn't have to do those things. But again, I find that, and I've heard maybe in smaller clubs, there may have to be some overlap because you may not have as many people to spread these roles out, to divvy up these roles. So it can overlap. It really depends on your club.
Question and answer segment. Anyone else would like to ask a question?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I would like to ask a question in regards to admin chair. Would you advise how would it work with the sergeant at arms? Because I know we had a session with sergeant at arms on Monday. Would you leave the sergeant at arms run the welcoming, or leave the admin chair deal with that part when it comes to the meetings?
So again, it can be either, I find. There are some clubs that is a sergeant that does that. And then there are other clubs that it is spread out amongst the different members in the club. To allow members in the club, I find, so like in my club, we spread that out amongst the different members because it helps members, especially the incoming, the prospectives, the newer members who were just inducted, to learn the names of, the more senior Rotarians who have been there or other members who are a part of the club. So being that greeter, you're seeing that person as they're coming in the door, they're having to tell you their name so that you can check them off. That is a way for them to learn and to get to know other people within the club. So I find it can be done either way. And it's up to each club, I'm assuming, as to how they would want that done.
Anyone else?
Can I say something, please?
Sure. I can't, sorry, I can't see who's talking, but sure.
Okay, Angela Gordon from Rotary Club of St.Martin Sunrise. As a small club, what we normally do is have our Sarge do most of the items that I understand you are addressing to club administration. As a small club with maybe 22 members, it is much easier for the Sarge to undertake the preparing of the area, work along with new guests coming into introducing the guests or introducing our membership. We normally wear our pins, so our name band. So it's also a Sarge area to make sure that all the members are wearing their name tag, which new members and invited guests will always and have an idea to know who these persons are. So for me, I believe that the administration club is like overshadowing or taking away from some of the other members. Secretary, as a small club, takes care of most of the admin. The treasurer takes care of their admin, share it amongst all the members. So it depends on the amount of membership where the administration would come into play, I believe. And I guess other members of a smaller club have the same experience.
And that is quite possible. And that's why one of the things I had said was that depending on the size of the club, some of these things may be done by other persons or the roles may overlap. That is quite possible.
Just to clarify so others could understand also. Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rotarian Angela. Is there anyone else that would like to ask a question or?
Okay.
All right, so that ends our answer and our question and answer segment. Okay. Past President Carol DaCosta, I hereby virtually give you your certificate of appreciation for being an exceptional presenter at the 2025-2026 Club Officers Virtual Learning Series, dated June 4, 2025. Signed by Alicia Lake, Assistant Governor, 2023 to 2026, Rotary District 7020.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I now pass on to Rotarian Jonaida Leonard. You now have the floor.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians. Good night. How is everyone doing?
You're awesome.
Good.
So I am here to present the bio on PDG Hares Ramchandani. Good evening, fellow Rotarians. I am Janawaria Leonard, Foundation Chair-elect for the Rotary Club of St. Martin, Sunset. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our third presenter this evening. Past District Governor Hares Ramchandani, who will be sharing with us the roles and responsibilities of a club's foundation chair. PDG Haresh is a past district governor for District 7020 from 2016 to 2017. He's been an assistant regional Rotary Foundation coordinator for Zone 34. PDG Harish has chaired several Rotary International committees. He's been a speaker, seminar leader, and learning facilitator at Rotary International Assembly and has served as host of the Rotary International Convention twice. He is the current District 7020's Council of Legislation representative and is on the 2026, oh boy, this is a hard word for me, Tapai? Oh Lord, excuse me, I don't know that word. Convention Committee. Fellow Rotarians, help me welcome past District Governor Haresh Ramchandani to the virtual lectern.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. And hello, fellow Rotarians. Happy to be here and I'm grateful for the invitation. I thought I would just kind of start on that last part. It's actually Taipei, and I want to give a little plug for Taipei because the convention will be in Taipei, Taiwan in 2026, and we'd really love to see a great contingency from our district going there. So the time has been well spent from what I see. I'd love to just jump straight in. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I have the privilege of sharing some thoughts with you today on the role of the Club Foundation Chair, and in particular, and generally, the Club Foundation Committee. So I do a quick check to see if everybody can see my screen. Yeah, great. Yeah, so I really want to have some time for question and answers as well. So I'm just going to quickly just kind of highlight some of the roles and responsibilities that are involved when you take on a role like this, representing the Rotary Foundation in your club. Right off the bat, one of the things the Rotary Foundation is really good at is offering grants to Rotary clubs, and that is something that is, as the foundation chair, is something that we encourage you to promote. So doing your research on what the different grants available are, and having time in your meetings and sharing this information in your club assemblies, if there's an opportunity in the club meeting, certainly at the board level. But you want to kind of bring the full gamut of what the options are out there, and we have a number of options. I would just want you to encourage the promotion of the grants so that you can take advantage of our wonderful foundation. The other responsibility that you have when you take up the mantle of Club Foundation Chair is to encourage the members to give to the Rotary Foundation. The way the foundation works, as I'm sure you all know, is it receives money in terms of contributions, and then it churns that out by investing it and then offers it in the form of grants back to clubs and districts. So for that whole mechanism to work, we need to have contributions coming in. And so the other responsibility is to inspire giving to the Rotary Foundation. And I just listed a couple different ways that are available. You can go online and do it. You can set it up to be a recurring donation. I know our district and certainly others are encouraging what we call matching donations, where if you give like $500 to the foundation, they'll match it with 500 points and make an offer to make someone a Paul Harris Fellow. Could be the person making the contribution as well. So a great thing for you to consider putting down as something that we want you to do when you have that role. Of course, to get those foundation grants, one of the requirements is to attend the grant management seminar. So that's something that is expected as one of your responsibilities. But it's not just about attending the seminar. If we're going to go ahead and apply for a grant, there's an entire process that's involved. So as the chair in the club for our foundation, your role would be to oversee that entire qualification process to ensure that the club can qualify and thereby apply for the grant. The beauty of the Rotary Foundation, there's so many elements to it. It touches so many aspects of our community and globally at large. And so there are so many ways you can make the Rotary Foundation a program in your club, from ways of giving to ways of impact, to the different grants, to the different scholarship programs, to the peace program that the foundation has. So you could really tailor a lovely experience in your club using the different programs of the Rotary Foundation. Of course, you need to start working closely with your treasurer when it comes to grant funding, both in terms of giving and receiving. The treasurer is the one that controls the bank of the club, and one of your responsibilities is to sit down with the treasurer and really get a full understanding of where things are and where do we need to go and how much more we need to get there, kind of thing. Now, the Rotary Foundation is the engine that makes impact happen, right? But impact really is happening with your service projects committee. So one of your responsibilities is to really work with your service projects committee to see, what are some of the areas that the needs are in your community, and maybe then tailor some ways of being able to deliver a higher impact on that project using the foundation. I told you that you're working with the treasurer in terms of receiving in terms of grant funds, but also you're also working with the treasurer to be able to make those donations with the members, right? So a great way to do that is to get a report on what have the contributions been for the membership over the past certain amount of years, and that report will be able to tell you where a member is in your club in terms of their giving. You might find when you look at the report that you have a member that's has given $800 so far, and they're just $200 on becoming a Paul Harris Fellow. It's a great way to look at it and to kind of nudge them along the journey. They may not even realize that they're so close, right, to being recognized as such. So you can work with the treasurer to be able to see what that report is, and of course to help with the submission of those donations. But of course, Rotary is a membership organization, and membership, everything revolves around membership. So you also want to work with the membership committee in your role as Rotary Foundation, because the membership committee will be able to guide you to let you understand what are some of the needs of our members. What are some of the things that are driving them? It may be that a particular member's passion has something to do with education. And so as the Club Foundation chair or serving on the Club Foundation committee, you can put together some lovely opportunities that you can bring to that member to say, we've got some great educational grants, we've got some great educational impact projects, and would you like to serve on this? So working with your club membership committee is a great way to get some insight into what each member, what they value from the membership. So I put together some other things of, what do I do? I've jumped into the role. I know I need to work with all these different members in my club. And I'm going to put together a committee because, again, if you've got a small club, sure, as you heard, it's probably a committee of one. But we encourage you to have multiple people on your committee, because sometimes you can even have a member serving on multiple committees, as I know was said earlier as well. So when you're working with a committee, you want to think about where do we go from here? July 1 is about to start. So we encourage you to meet with the outgoing chair, kind of see what the last year was like, what worked, what didn't work, right? What were some of the challenges, so that you're not starting from zero, right? You understand where your club is and you understand where you need to go. So sit down, meet with the outgoing chair. As I said, you want to have a committee working, because in some cases it could be a heavy lift. There's a lot going on with the Rotary Foundation, so many elements to it. So if you have some willing members that are willing to serve on the committee, just try and speak to them so you can actually try to help fill some of those openings and some of those gaps. Collaborate. I told you to work with the treasurer and the membership committee and the service projects committee, but collaborate with all the other committees. We're all in this journey together, right? Foundation committee, foundation chair doesn't stand alone. Rotary is a holistic experience. When we all come together working as a team, we're all, as we say, when we're rowing the boat, right? We're all rowing in the same direction. Even though I might have only one oar, someone else has another oar, but together we can really move the needle. So, we encourage you to collaborate and get ideas from other committees. You don't have to have all the answers, right? Sharing, bouncing thoughts off each other, you'd be surprised what comes out of that. So highly encourage you to do that. And again, don't do all the heavy lifting yourself. Try to delegate some of the tasks. It's family, business, then Rotary, right? Family, business, then Rotary. I've seen so many times people get burnt out. And so we don't want that. So delegate some of the tasks. You don't have to do everything yourself. Some other things, sit down with your board and start to set some goals. When you work with your board, you can understand, okay, well, what did we contribute last year? Are we going to do the same? Are we going to try and raise the bar a little bit? What are some of the grants that we applied for last year? Is it something we want to continue doing? Do we want a new grant? So sitting with your board and setting goals really allows you to understand where you want to go this year, and therefore you can tailor the experience to get there. Of course, I mentioned earlier, you want to inspire giving, and promoting every Rotarian every year is definitely one goal that I know recurs year after year. Find a way to keep it top and center with every member, because if we don't give, it is very hard to be able to have a bigger impact. Look at the Rotary Action Plan. It is an amazing document. Go ahead and download it. Just put Rotary Action Plan on Google and you'll see that it's like a one-pager. They've got a PowerPoint attached to it. You've got detailed sub-documents attached to it if you want more details. But look at the action plan. Some great ideas that can come from there on the foundation that I think would be very helpful as you plan your year ahead. Another job as a club foundation chair is to motivate, right? So as I mentioned, you want to be able to stick foundation in somewhere in the meetings as many times as possible. So you can have a foundation minute during your Rotary Club meetings whenever possible. You can get someone to speak on the Rotary Foundation and have a speaker for a meeting. November is Foundation Month, so we want to use November and kind of really bring Rotary Foundation front and center and really highlight and celebrate it over the course of the month of November. Of course, if you can get any time during the year, we love that too. But November is really a spotlight moment for that. And October 24th, World Polio Day. That's a great big motivator as well. A great opportunity to really put the spotlight on the great work our Rotary Foundation is doing. Another element in your role is looking at budgeting and recognition. So using Rotary Club Central, going there, I mentioned earlier, you can get reports on there, monitoring the progress of those reports during the course of the year. So periodically you keep checking to see where you are, where have the members reached, and is there any way you can help nudge them along so that when we get to June, we're in a great position from a club giving point of view. Look at different ways of recognizing donors. Certificates are great, just like the virtual certificate we just saw being presented to our last speaker. Public service announcement, you can do social media announcements, you can do media blitz as well. Sometimes even a personal thanks can go a long way to recognize someone if they've made a contribution to our Rotary Foundation. So I wanted to be brief because I really want to get to having some questions for you. So I kind of put together a few questions that I want you to make a note of. And this is something I want you to reflect on, right? July 1, what's the first thing you're going to do if you're the Rotary Foundation chair or if you're going to be serving on the Rotary Foundation committee? What is the first thing you're going to do? Is there any specific goals that you have for the year? Is there any specific goals that you heard your club put together for the year? All right. What are some strategies that you're going to use to be able to get members to make a contribution to the foundation? Every club is different. Every membership dynamic is different. How are you going to come up with some strategies to be able to encourage contributions to the foundation? And not just in your club. How are you going to promote the Rotary Foundation and all the good the foundation is doing in your community? Where are those opportunities going to be? What are the strategies to get the word out beyond the four walls of your Rotary Club? And finally, I know you had a session on fundraising, so by now you should have started putting together some amazing ideas. What are some of those ideas? Are you going to share those ideas with other Rotary clubs? Not everybody can come up with the same idea. What strategies are you going to use to come up with the idea and to share those ideas with the wider Rotary world so that they can get inspired by something that you're going to do, something that you did that worked? These 5 questions are something I want you to reflect on. Look at my time and kind of make sure that we're good on it. AG Alicia, we're good on time. Perfect. Thank you. So in the chat box, I want you to look at these 5 questions and kind of reflect on them. And is there, there's some thoughts. What is the first thing you're going to do July 1? What specific goals does your club have for the year? And if you don't, when are you going to put those goals between now and the start of the year? How are you going to encourage contributions? What strategies you think can work for your club? And I want you to encourage you to share that because others might get inspired by your ideas. And how are you going to go out there to the community and spotlight our Rotary Foundation? What can you do to really raise the bar? And how are you going to raise some money? So I'll leave that up just for a moment as I give you a couple seconds to put something in the chat. I'm going to see if anybody's putting anything in chat. Okay, not yet. I'm sure they'll do it.
Rotarian Ranchandani, is it possible for the participants to unmute their mic and answer your questions posed?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Go back. Yeah.
So you raise your hand and you can unmute your mic and answer any question you see fit.
You see one hand raised?
Yes, I see it now, Bobby.
Good afternoon, my good friend Harish. How are you?
Greetings.
I have been trying to reach you on the phone for many, many moons without success. I don't know if when you see my number, you think it's a paparazzi calling you to sell you something. The only thing I tell you, Rotary, but then you don't need to buy that because you already own part of it.
My friend, if you called, I would have answered. Believe it or not, I would have answered the phone.
You probably I might have the wrong number, but I got it from PhD Gofind, and I would imagine I got the right number. Anyway, that aside, I probably catch up with you another time. I've been pondering this thing for quite a while. I know maybe since you're talking about the foundation, this goes to the heart of RI in person. RI, definitely. In 2006 or 2005, just when we were hitting the 100th anniversary with Polio Plus, and we thought that we could complete all the work in polio. By that time, the 100th anniversary didn't happen, and Rotary then set some other goals. 2010, 15, 25, I think was the last goal set for it. Still not happening. And in 2006, I think it was, now past RI President Barrasin, I believe at that time was our representative for 7020 on the Council of Legislation. And the suggestion came out from RI. Since they thought they were going to complete this activity with polio, ask clubs, because we got it in writing. Those days we didn't have the technology we have today. But anyway, we got it. And it asked, RI was asking, what is the next major project could we tackle when polio is completed? And St. Andrew and it was knocked down. The proposal was to feed the children of the world. And we made a long dissertation because we pointed out numbers where the world stood at the time in terms of children being hungry. You can't learn in school if you're hungry. And that, obviously militates against your development and all that sort of thing. Of course, it was knocked down. Now, my beef is now that let's shift our focus from the polio plus. We have what, 2 countries outside it, Afghanistan and Pakistan to some extent, I believe. This has been going on for some time. Why not let us do a parallel program then? If you still want to talk about polio, why not run another magnificent project, like as I mentioned, to feed the children of the world? I believe that it could draw a lot of interest and passion because it's such an important subject to the entire world, particularly our sister country, Africa, and get the ball rolling with that program as well, because polio with those 2 countries could last 10, 15 more years, 20 more years, we don't know. Many of us would, myself, living at that time. And so I am very passionate about us shifting focus now from polio, because it has been going on for a long time. And while we want to accomplish that, and there's no doubt that we will, but time is of the essence. And I think that we could run a parallel program. And in your capacity, sir, where you sit now, I think this is something you should revive and bring back to either the council legislation sometime in the near future, maybe next year, next 3 years, I think, because they finally they completed their exercise this year, I think. And so, sir, you can hear my voice, you can hear it.
Thank you so much for sharing that, PAG, Bobby.
Thanks for listening, fellow.
Absolutely. I feel your passion and I feel your frustration. I'm going to share with you some things which I think will interest you and will make you quite pleased. So we are not going to give up on polio, because one case out there, can spread throughout the world if we stop it. So we're never going to stop it until we get the job done. That's the promise we made to the children of the world. But we do recognize that there are opportunities to have big impact in other areas. And so a few years ago, the Rotary Foundation trustees launched a program called Programs of Scale. It's a very exciting program. This was 2 million US.
I know that one. I know that
Right.
one, yeah.
This is now in the fourth cycle of that program. And the reason for that is just what you're saying. Can we scale and do something parallel while we're still focusing on polio, right? Having bigger impact in other areas. And so every year they're encouraging clubs and districts to put something of huge impact, something that can be scaled massively. And so I would say it's still in an infancy stage because it's just the fourth year. We've given 4 of those awards so far, but we're optimistic that we're going to find something of major impact coming out of people thinking along the lines of scaling high impact. So just give it some time. They are going in the right direction. And I think you'll be very happy with the way it turns out in the near future.
Thank you, sir. I hope I live to see that, sir.
You will, my friend, you will. I see Siddharth Cookie.
Yes, Rotarian Bijlani, your question.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone. Sorry for late joining the meeting as I had another meeting on and I thought it'll finish earlier, but it did not. But coming to the point of the foundation, I believe we should set clear vision and goals of what we're going to be doing for the coming year. Understand my responsibility if I'm the foundation chair, but I am the incoming president, so I will be sitting with my foundation chair and discuss the role and responsibilities, which she is very much capable of, Angela Gordon, and have a meeting with her and discuss the future givings and annual givings and Polio Plus, plan for the district global grants and all that, even to sit and assess the past performance of our club within the region will give us an idea, and then educate and engage members in knowing. I believe a lot of members think the knowledge of the foundation, Rotary Foundation, is on a very lower level. I think that should be done on a very, might be in a 2 months' time, have a meeting and discuss about the foundation. So at least in a year, you have 6 meetings. And then finally form a small foundation committee where you can have the plan, what you have thought, the vision to execute it. I believe this incoming year, I would be focusing in that way.
Sounds good. Great. Look, all the best.
Thank you.
All right. I think our time has been well spent. I'm sure if there's anything, other questions, AG Alicia, you can certainly send that my way, and then I'm happy to respond. Thank you.
Thank you, Rotarians, for engaging in the discussion. Okay, on behalf of the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset, the certificate of appreciation is presented to PDG Haresh Ramchandani for being an exceptional presenter at the 2025-2026 Club Officers Virtual Learning Series on this day, June 4th, 2025, signed by Ms. Alicia Lake, Assistant Governor 2023 to 2026. Rotary District 7020.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
And now I'm going to pass the virtual floor to Rotarian Jamila.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians. I hope everyone is doing well this evening. I am Jamila Boyrad, the Service Projects Chair-elect for the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our final presenter this evening, past District Governor Andre Hadley Maria, who will be sharing with us the role and responsibilities of a Club Service Projects Chair. PDG Andre has been a Rotarian since 2005. When she joined the Rotary Club of Thomasville, she is the CEO of Maria's Counseling, Coaching, and Consulting Service, LLC. She served as a youth service and foundation chairs prior to serving as club president in 2018-2019. She is a Paul Harris Fellow, a Paul Harris Society member, a Major Donor Level 2, a Will Watt Fellow, and a Thomas Fellow, and a J. Cheatman Fellow, and received the Avenues of Service citation in 2021 from her club. She served as an assistant governor in 2020 to 2022 and district governor for District 6900 for the Rotary year 2023 to 2024. PDG Andre graduated from the Fort Valley State University in 1973 with a Bachelor of Science degree in music, and in 1975 with a Master in Science degree in mental health counseling. PDG Andre has been married to evangelist Walter Maria Jr. for 50 plus years, and they have 2 birth children, 2 given by God, and 8 grandchildren. Fellow Rotarians, help me welcome PDG Andre to the virtual lectern.
Good evening, fellow Rotarians. It's my honor to be with you this evening, and I am honored to be serving with such an outstanding panel. I will probably mirror some of the things that you've heard from PDG, Cacaldi, and in doing so, it's going to reinforce the learning that we've taken a part of tonight. You know, the service project chair is a super important part of the club because from that project comes the monies that we need to take care of the foundation that you've just heard of. So let's talk a little bit about that person being the light, knowing the why that we've heard about earlier and leading the way by example. And he encourages that by asking us to pivot and to make change. So I have a couple of questions I want to ask you before we jump into that. What impact has your club made with your current projects? When did you last evaluate your projects? How does your club determine what service projects to complete in your community? What community organization or leaders have you engaged with to determine the local priorities? How is your club and who in your club in the district are your partners in community activities? Who provide guidance with you from your community? How are they planned? How are they implemented? And if you don't know the answers to these questions, we need to meet with your community to learn how to move forward and to pivot. Please change the slide for me there. We realize that service above self is what we're all about as Rotarians, and that our project should reflect the commitment to our global and our local change. The effective services builds members, and it helps us deliver good programs to our partners. I think that what is most important is then knowing then, as the chair, you motivate, you lead, you direct, but you do it with your club that is one in their thinking and making sure that you have a committee. And I realize that I've heard tonight that they're small clubs, but having committees to work together, you get the experience of changing ideas. Are you doing the same things? Do you need to really do a community assessment, a club assessment determining whether or not the members in your club are really in the roles that they need to be in? Are they really passionate about what they're doing, and do they need to make a change? And in doing so, choosing projects is very important for your community. Are you delivering the projects in your community that is needed, or are you doing the things that you've done the same way for a long time? So collaboration and having a committee to work with community partners is very important for the club. Having those relationships that you build so you can promote sustainability, so you can measure your impact, and that you can support Rotary by looking at what's going in Club Central. And I got that down there because I think it's very important that we record what we're doing. Next slide, please. So the role of the service project chair is to engage not only the members. I've heard someone say tonight that because the clubs are so small, everybody gets a chance to do something. So rotate, engage every member in the club. Remember me speaking a while back with you that it's important to be intentional in what you do and that we build relationships so we can make change happen in our clubs. So if you engage your club members to look at what you are doing as a club, you give them an opportunity to create new activities. You heard PDG Cacaldi talk about that earlier today. Now, unlike him, I do believe that you need to look at what other people are doing to get an idea whether or not it will fit your culture in your community. So by collaborating, you get an idea, not collaborating not only with each other, but with your community partners, and then creating new partners so that you can look at things that you have done now to measure whether or not there needs to be a change. Please go to your next slide. Next slide. So go back. I'm sorry. Go back. So you guide your club by selecting impactful projects. What are some of the things that you're doing now? Is it making an impact or do you need to change? We have 7 areas of service that we can choose from. Are you maintaining what you're doing in one area of service or do you need to look at another? Do you think about the possibility of doing a global or district grant? Recently, I returned from a trip in India, and in doing so, I was motivated to bring back to the club the need that I saw there for Nikki units for the kids there. And so now my club is looking into the possibility of doing a global grant maybe next couple of years so that we can help them get the materials they need. So sometimes our experiences in other places bring back ideas that can help our club to do something different. But are you addressing the medical needs in your own community? Just think about those things. So having and conducting a community assessment is very important. And also, it's connected with the fundraising. You get volunteers. You get volunteers by your passion, believing in what you do, going out there, asking them to be a part of you. But more than that, also becoming a part of them. There are organizations out there that you might need to engage with so that you can show as an individual that you're not just Rotary, but you're Rotary and you're the community as well. So it's so important to do that. And share the success by telling your story. Next slide, please. I think it's so important that you tell the story. So here we're looking at the 7 areas of service that I mentioned to you earlier. I think that is so, so very important that we realize that if we look at those 7 areas, are we really addressing them in our community? And what projects there could you take from those areas of service? So you can engage, you can promote, you can collaborate, and you can support your club by choosing those things that meet the needs of your community. Next slide, please. It gives here some examples of some of the things you can do. If you look here at examples, you see that in peace building, you can do a summit or anti-bullying. You could look at healthcare screenings. You can look at hygiene. You can look at maternal health and the things that you can do there. The neonatal unit supplies that I talked about. Literacy. There's some ideas that you can do there. Economic development. We started here in Thomasville incubator for underserved, most underserved populations here to help them get businesses. I think it was a very, very good thing that we did. And right now I will be presenting at the international convention the work that we've done in that area and looking at your environment. What do you need there? Do you need water? Do you need wells? Do you need gardens? What are the needs in your community and are you truly addressing them? Next slide, please. So here are some highlights of some of the things that I looked at in the other districts. I looked at the districts because I visited you in 7020 and I stole a lot. No, we said duplicate and improvise. I won't say that I stole. Imitation is the best part of flattery here, I think. So you look at some of the things that you see being done in other districts, you know, the books over 1,000 in one district, food pantry, having that clinic inside, mental health clinic inside the schools, environmental things like activities you can do with schools and things of that nature, clean water. These are just some of the things that I found that was out there that I thought that I could get you to look at. Next slide, please. So here, in engaging our members, we need to align our projects with the passion of the members in your club. You know, my passion is health. It's health and wellness in children. And so I am really one that spend most of my time engaging in those in my club, finding new members. And I'm going to do a selfish plug today. I came down to 7020's district conference. I brought a person who was not a Rotarian. She was so taken with what was going on there. I pinned her today in another club. She's not in my city, but here exposing, and she is on fire to do work in her community. I think it's an opportunity if we engage people on different levels, how we can bring people in. So offer meaningful roles for people and allow the projects to fit the need of the individual that is working in your group, and also making sure they're passionate about it. And involve, if you have an Interact or Rotary club, to involve them and families in the activities you have planned. But make sure it's something that you've done based on an assessment, all right? So promote your participation through storytelling. I am great at telling folks storytelling is the best way to do it. So find something that's exciting. I think that what you do should be shown every year, every quarter to your club to give a report on what's going on and celebrate the things that you're doing. It's very important to do so. Next slide, please. So here are some tools that you can use. You can use the showcase. You can use Club Central. The Learning Center itself has a whole section on the role of the project manager, of the service project manager. You can go in there and get some great ideas on that. How you can get the district grants and global grants to plan for that. And that's planning. And I think planning is so important. And then looking at the service project guide that's in the Learning Center. These are tools there that you can do that I think that is very, very important. Next slide, please. So here's a call to action. Be the catalyst of change as the chair. Challenge your clubs to see whether or not what you're doing is really what you need to be doing. Inspire and motivate and collaborate and pivot when necessary. We're an organization that is built on change. You heard David speak to the different club models that we have, wherein if you don't have the members now to engage, how about looking at whether or not you need to do things different, have a different kind of hour, have just a focus on one area you want to work on. Look at how you can do that and bring things to life in terms of what you need to accomplish, and make every project an opportunity to where a person belongs and will take the lead. Next slide, please. So I'm open to questions. What's your favorite project you've done in your club? What challenges are you facing? These are some of the things that I'd like to ask you about at this time, and how can I help in terms of some of the things I've experienced. Next slide. All right, go back one. Yes, Liz.
Oh, sorry. I thought that you were finished there. I realized you haven't mentioned the Service Project Central, where we now enter all of our projects. We don't enter them in Rotary Club Central anymore. We only put the number of projects. Exactly. But they all have to be entered into Service Project Central, and then that's how you meet your goal, because it's automatically populated. And that's also where you can look for funding, you can look for partners, and you can see hundreds of projects that have already been done.
And thank you for that. And thank you for adding that, because they moved things from showcase to that place. And I really forgot about it. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate the additional information and the correction on that. Also, I think it's important that in doing so, that you make sure that members in your club know the same, because continuity builds on us educating others about the changes that were taking place. And I certainly appreciate that from you, Liz. Any other questions? Any questions at all? There are no questions? Thank you for the time that you've given me to share the little that I know. And let me add this. I'm like David. Thank you, AG Lakes, for asking me to do something that I've not done before also. But I think it was a learning experience for me in doing so. And it also helps me to help my district in a different role that I'll be having. Because in our district, we all struggle with the service chair, project chair, and what we're going to do. I don't think it's unique to any district. I think we all deal with what is it that we can do, how can we do it better, and how can we get people involved. And it goes back to we're a membership organization. If we work with our membership chair, if we work with our foundation, we'll be able to get those things accomplished.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Rotary and Andrea. Before I do the vote thanks, I would like to ask a huge favor to end the evening. Would you do us the honor, of singing a song? I heard you're a singer.
You guys know you're just not right. I'll do a verse of one of my favorite songs that when I was district governor, I started my meetings off with, I believe the children are future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us how we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. And so I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to step in anyone's shadow. If I fail, if I succeed, at least I live as I believe. Because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me.
Thank you so much, Andrea. I think she deserves a round of applause. Do we all agree? Can I see some hearts, a round of applause? Thank you for that rendition. So I would like to present a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the Rotary Club of St. Martin Sunset, presented to PDG Andrea Hadley Maria for being an exceptional presenter at the 2025-2026 Club Officers Virtual Learning Series dated June 4th, 2025, on behalf and signed by Alicia Lake, the Assistant Governor from 2023 to 2026 for the Rotary District 720.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I pass on the virtual lectern to Alicia.
Rotarian Jamila, I think that I can speak for everyone here this evening and say that we had a wonderful, awesome evening filled with knowledge, filled with inspiration, and of course with that lovely rendition, PDG Andre. Thank you so much for that. I do want to thank all those Rotarians who would have read bios, also to PAG Seymour for the invocation, and of course, past President Angela for the four-way test. All of our presenters this evening, PDG David, PP Carell, PDG Harish, PDG Andre, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And of course, Rotary is definitely privilege to have you as a member. So thank you so much for your time this evening. I do want to encourage each and every one of you to be a part of part 3, which will be June 9th. And we have, again, 4 dynamic speakers who will be sharing with us on the role and responsibilities of a treasurer. So PAG Mario will be doing that. Role of membership chair, PAG Karen Pender. Role of youth service chair, AG Peter Gay. And of course, club learning facilitator, we're going to be having past District Governor Laura Cantrell that will be speaking to us. So I do encourage you to encourage your fellow Rotarians to be on the call on Monday and let us learn together. So much information, so much knowledge is being shared. And I really hope that you are taking full advantage of the opportunity. Virtual Zoom has allowed us to, fellowship and also learn together. So let us take full advantage of that. Once again, thank you for being here. I do wish you a pleasant Wednesday further and see you on Monday. Take care, everyone.